So let me sort of summarize a little bit by telling you what I do in my courses now. So in my courses now, in none of the courses I teach have I found a textbook that I really like. So I have no textbooks, they have videos and PowerPoint slides. And when I design my courses now, I do it in what most people would think is the reverse way. I make this problem driven. So first I think of the homework problems that I want them to do, right? So I don't think about the order of the chapters or anything like that. I think what are real world and important problems that I want them to be able to solve. So meaningful problems, right? What that they can do. And of course I always assume that they have a computer handy, so all the tedious tasks are done with the computer. Okay, so that's the problems, the homework problems. Then I think, well, what kind of concepts do they have to understand in order to understand the problem, right? So that's the concept problems that I ask in class. So I write them second, or sketch at least how they would look, right? And so the problems and the in-class conceptual questions, they define the curriculum. So now I know what I need to cover. Then I make the slides. Once I make the slides, then I record the videos. And at the end, I make the video quizzes. Okay? So contrast this to what one would normally do. You teach a course. The first thing you do is you go textbook hunting. You pick a textbook, and then that textbook defines the curriculum, right? This, either the whole textbook or the first, I don't know, 12 chapters or what have you. Okay, that's the curriculum, and then the problems you assign are these very often toy problems, meaningless problems that are in the back of the book. Okay, so the advantage of doing it this way is, right, if I write relevant problems, and to me that's research relevant. So we're teaching chemists what do they need to know in order to do, let's say, a research project at the bachelor level or at the graduate level, right? Relevant problems means a relevant curriculum. So the constant question is, why do I have to know this, right? That gives you you have a real answer for that now, right? You have to know this because you have to solve this problem, and this problem is important because. And also this, so what this says is that what you teach and how what you teach is used is more important than where does it come from, right? So by that I mean the derivation typically. So to solve the problem using an equation, the first thing you need to know is not how this equation was derived, but how you use this equation. Okay, so once you understand how to use the equation and why it's important, then you can maybe talk about how the equation is derived or where it comes from. Okay, so you have to, as you'll find, you'll have to cut your curriculum. And that means you have to, it's not that everything isn't important, but some things are actually more important than others. And you have to make that choice. And this helps you make that choice, right? Because you deprioritize anything that doesn't contribute to the solution of the problem. So if some topic is not problem worthy, it's not worth writing a problem on, well, how important is it really relative to the other? And so in my personal experience, I teach a lot of physical chemistry. And that means I've de-emphasized derivation a lot. And no one has complained about this, believe me. So at Copenhagen, we're on a quarter system. So we have very condensed quarters where students take 2 courses at once. So that means I have 2 back-to-back 45-minute lectures twice a week. Right? So 4 hours of lecturing, and then they have another 4 hours where they have help with homework problems. Now the very first day I start a course, I actually do lecture. So I don't, the very first, or the night before the very first day, I don't require them to see videos. So my lecture is maybe 5-10 minutes, then I'll ask a question where we vote, and then I'll lecture, ask a question, and then we vote. But after that first day, right, I also make it very clear, now you'll get videos, that you have to watch twice a week, and you have to take the quiz. The video slides are available before, so they have the video slides as they're watching the video. Of course, the answers to the questions I asked in the videos are deleted. And then the quiz, I've talked about this, 1 question per video, and the deadline is midnight before the day of the lecture. The last question I've talked about. And my lecture period starts with, with any questions that you have about the videos. So I might have to lecture a little bit before I start asking questions if the videos weren't clear. Okay, now here comes something really important. So I ask in these 90 minutes plus break, right? I have time to ask about 12 questions, plus minus. Half these questions are review questions from previous weeks. Okay, and I do that because I find that I did an experiment. I wrote a question based on something in a video that they watched the night before. 100% of the students get the question right. Okay, then I wait a week or two, right, and then I ask the exact same question, and maybe if I'm lucky, 50% get it right. Okay, so just covering something once is not enough for it to stick. Right? So if you want people to really understand and absorb something, you need to review it again and again. So I spent half my time on review questions, and then the other half on questions on the new day's topic. And so that might seem very little, right? I only asked 6 questions. But of course, I'll ask more questions on this topic in following weeks. Right? But I basically sort of spread it out. Okay, but that means I have to design my course so that the most important stuff, the stuff I want to ask about again and again, I have to put that first in the course so that I have many weeks to ask questions about it. Most of these 12 questions or so are multiple choice. 1 or 2 of them will be these short answer questions. These short answer questions they're much easier to write, but they're actually very exhausting for the students. I find that if I ask more than 1 or 2, they just get exhausted. They just give up. It's much easier for them to pick the right choice based on answers. So you have to remember now that, I mean, this is the students are constantly talking and discussing. And so at the end of 90 minutes, even though they had a 15-minute break, I mean, these students are actually quite tired. You should imagine how you feel after a 90-minute lecture, right? The students are somewhat refreshed because they've slept a little during your lecturing, but you're quite exhausted. Well, now it's really the other way around. Then all the slides with the questions I then make available afterwards. So they have all this material, even though they don't have a textbook. And of course, I provide the homework answers on Peerwise, as I showed you previously.